Hey Navi-Gators, today we're in Micanopy, Florida. It's a cute little town near Gainesville. It was the site of the 1990s Michael J. Fox movie called Doc Hollywood. It was an adorable, cute movie, and this is an adorable, cute town. So let's hit the road. Today we're in Alachua County in North Florida, taking a ride through the adorable town of Micanopy. It's rural, it's beautiful, and it's memorable. This is one location you're going to want to visit. Micanopy is an example how even the smallest of towns in the middle of nowhere can remain a destination worth visiting with a history worth remembering. For such a tiny location, Micanopy's history is fascinating. It includes Spanish explorers, native tribes, escaped slaves, literary accolades, a Jewish utopia, and 2 brushes with Hollywood. And those are just the highlights. Since Micanopy is such a small place, I'm going to take multiple rides through the heart of the town, but I'm also going to ride around a little bit and explore the area. But don't worry, I'll make sure you get the best view of the coolest locations. This little town, and I mean little, it's just over 1 square mile in size. That's it. Its closest neighbor, besides the 21,000-acre Paynes Prairie Preserve, is Gainesville, Florida, 18 miles away. The heart of Micanopy is Cholokka Boulevard, with century-old buildings known for selling antiques, along with neighboring restaurants with tasty meals. Just a few short years ago, Travel and Leisure designated it one of America's top 10 historic small towns. Now, like I covered in the Gainesville ride, this area was populated by native tribes for over 12,000 years, including the Timucua and Patano tribes. As a matter of fact, Spanish explorer Hernando de Soto recorded a Timucua village of the Patano near present-day Micanopy, and this village was a hub of trade and agriculture. In 1774, during his travels through Florida, American naturalist William Bartram visited a Seminole village called Cuscawilla near modern Micanopy and wrote about it in his book Travels, published in 1791. In that book, he described the area's lush landscape and the Seminoles' harmonious life. Bartram's sketches of local flora and fauna are on display at the Micanopy Historical Society Museum, offering a glimpse into this pre-colonial era. One of the interesting things is that the Seminoles welcomed escaped slaves and their tribes, and one of them, John Horse, emerged as one of the tribe's leaders during the Seminole Wars. The town itself gets its name from Seminole chief Micanopy, who was the principal chief in the Seminole Nation. Now, he never actually visited the town during his life, but it's believed that they decided to name the town after him in order to garner peace as settlers were arriving in the area. The town of Micanopy was officially established in 1821, shortly after Florida became a territory of the United States. All right, you know what time it is? It's time to feed Algo the alligator. There's a lot of alligators around here. You won't see them on the road, but you do see them on your screen. As you know, all these YouTube videos are ranked and rated and all these things by algorithms that look for triggers like thumbs up and how long people watch and whether people comment or share or things like that. So I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just saying if you enjoy this ride, feed the algorithm. Push buttons, say things, whatever you want to do or not do. It's entirely up to you. Or if you like any of the other rides, do the same. My goal is to grow this channel just to share these rides and these stories and to grow a community of people that not only like history, not only like small towns, but also like motorcycles or enjoy virtually sitting on the back of mine and checking these cool places out. So whatever you can do, it'd be great. So since Cholokka Boulevard is really the hub of this small little town, it's where all the coolest and oldest buildings are located. So I'm going to slow down the video as we pass by these important buildings so I can give you just a quick history of them. All right, this is the Thrasher Warehouse. This warehouse was built in the 1890s by the Thrasher family, a prominent Micanopy family that was involved in selling goods, mercantile, and agriculture. They used this to store goods that would be either sold or brought in by the Florida Southern Railway. And in there, they stored primarily citrus and sugarcane, as well as other things that came in. But this building has since been turned into the Micanopy Historical Society Museum, which preserves and showcases the town's history. The Thrasher General Store was established in 1896 by John Early Thrasher, who moved from Georgia to Micanopy around 1876. It was Micanopy's longest-running mercantile business, operating for over 70 years until 1973. It offered groceries, furniture, and hardware. All right, this cute little Presbyterian-Episcopal Church was built in 1854 with land donated by James Boyce Simonton. It's in the Gothic Revival style and served as the worship space for Micanopy's Presbyterian and Episcopal congregants. It's now a private residence, but it remains a visible landmark reflecting Micanopy's history. This is the Herlong Mansion, and it is the cornerstone of Micanopy's historic and cultural landscape. This mansion began as a modest two-story cracker-style pine farmhouse, and it was built around 1845. It was situated along the Indian trading route and was just a simple dwelling that was typical for the time. But it was later acquired and transformed into this grand Greek Revival neoclassical mansion. It includes Corinthian columns, leaded glass windows, fine wood paneling, and intricate oak, maple, and mahogany floors. It's a showcase of what one might call Southern elegance. All right, this is the Ira Daily Drugstore, also known as the Micanopy Drug Company, that had a drugstore located on the first floor of the building that still stands today. It featured a soda fountain, a mirrored cabinet wall, and a white marble counter, typical of the early 20th century pharmacies. Upstairs, Dr. Daly, who ran the drugstore, and his family lived in an apartment, and they also up there delivered babies and provided medical care. After Dr. Daly closed his practice in 1947, the town went without a local doctor for over 70 years. Today, the building serves as an antique shop. Surprise! Which is why Micanopy has become known as Florida's antique capital. The Feaster Building was constructed in 1903 by Otis Laney Feaster Jr. He was a prominent merchant and a sawmill operator born near Micanopy. This was built to serve a multiple of commercial and cultural functions. The three-story structure was designed with a general store, a drugstore, and Micanopy's first telephone office on the ground floor. The second floor housed a storage warehouse, the town council, dental offices, and for a time, the post office. The third floor was an opera house, hosting theatrical performances, operas, balls. The original building, built before 1885, had 2 stories but was partially destroyed by fire. So in 1903, reconstruction by Feaster resulted in the current 3-story building. This is the Benjamin Building, and it was constructed in the 1880s for S.H. Benjamin and Company, and it originally served dry goods. It was initially a 2-story structure designed in the Gothic Revival style, which set a distinctive tone for Micanopy's business square. Around 1900, the upper story was destroyed by fire and was rebuilt as a single-story structure, as it remains today. Over the years, it's housed various businesses, including a general merchandise store, a pool hall, a post office, a bank, a drugstore. Currently, like most of the other historic buildings in town, it's an antique shop. As a matter of fact, Micanopy is known for all these buildings here, which have turned into antique shops. If you love antiques, you're going to want to stop by. Okay, this building here is the Micanopy Bank. It was built in 1906 by John Jacob Barr during a period when the town was experiencing prosperity. This red brick structure is a notable example of early 20th century architecture in Florida's oldest inland town, which is Micanopy. It originally was the Micanopy Banking Company, but over time it also housed the local post office before transitioning to its current use as an antique store. All right, this beautiful house, it is beautiful, right? This is called the Simonton House. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. The Simonton House was built in 1910 by James Boyce Simonton. He was a wealthy landowner and cattle rancher whose family were among Micanopy's earliest settlers in the 1840s. In the early 2000s, it had fallen into disrepair, and in 2007, Mark Gregg and his wife Linda Barrett, who had previously restored the Herlong Mansion, purchased this house and began renovating it, turning it into a vacation rental. It's stunning for me to imagine that in the early 19th century, before air conditioning, before mosquito repellent, and before overhead fans, that Florida would end up being selected as the location for a utopian society. But that's what happened in 1822. A man named Moses Elias Levy, born in Morocco, who then lived in Cuba, St. Thomas, and St. Augustine, selected land near Micanopy to serve as a refuge for Jews fleeing religious persecution in Europe at the time. He called his dream Pilgrimage Plantation. Levy intended the bulk of the pilgrimage plantation to be dedicated to sugarcane production, along with raising livestock, including hogs. The settlers at Pilgrimage Plantation maintained relatively positive relations with Chief Micanopy and the Seminole Indians in the early years. Now, Levy considered himself deeply religious and focused his faith on the Hebrew Bible rather than rabbinic authority. Therefore, he never had a plan to establish a synagogue at Pilgrimage Plantation or to enforce Orthodox custom. The Jewish community also had a fruitful trading relationship with the Palaklakaha, one of the largest black Seminole villages in Florida. Sadly, Levy couldn't reach his goals. He and his fellow investors expected 200 settlers by 1823, but only managed to recruit 25 by then. In the 1830s, the Florida Territory entered a new set of conflicts with the Native American tribes after then-President Andrew Jackson proposed the forced removal of Seminole and Miccosukee tribes to the Arkansas Territory. Now, the Second Seminole War began in 1835, right as Levy claimed that his pilgrimage plantation had finally turned a profit. But that same year, the Seminole Indians burned it to the ground, leaving little trace of the 13 years Levy had spent attempting to build his refuge. By the time Florida became a state in 1845, Levy had risen and fallen as one of Florida's largest landowners. He owned over 100,000 acres, but could never convert that into his dream society. Now, Micanopy is not a big place, and its statistics show that. It has a population of about 650 people. That's it. And they live in the approximate 280 homes in that 1 square mile area. And the median home value is about $250,000, and the average rent is about $1,750. In that small group of people, 10% are less than 18 years old, 7% are between 18 and 24, and another 7% are between 25 and 34, which means not a lot of young people live there. The largest demographic belongs to those between 35 and 54 at 31%. 19% are between 55 and 64, pre-retirement age, And finally, 25% are over 65. As far as education, 93% are high school graduates, about 2% are attending college, and 39% graduated college. The per capita income is about $44,000, which is just a few $1,000s less than the national average, and its household income is about $68,000, about $10,000 less than the U.S. average. And 12% of the population live below poverty. In this small little town, 79% of the population is white, 11% are a combination of 2 or more races, 8% are black, and 2% are Hispanic. This is the Micanopy Historic Cemetery, a serene, contemplative space with a Southern Gothic charm. And as you can see, it's one of the most beautiful old cemeteries I've ridden through. I was so lucky to have come in the spring when these flowers were in bloom. This cemetery was established in 1826, shortly after Micanopy transitioned from an Indian trading post to an American town. The cemetery was founded by a prominent local physician, Dr. H. Lucius Montgomery Sr. and his wife Lucinda, when they deeded the land to the town. This is the final resting place of over 2,000 people, including more than 100 veterans, some from the Civil War. The earliest recorded burial is from 1826, with a gravestone from James W. Martin, who was born in 1737. Isn't that crazy? Many ancestors from the 1700s are also buried here, reflecting the area's early pioneer history. The cemetery was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 1983. Now, here we are entering Paynes Prairie, and it's a 21,000-acre savanna between Micanopy and Gainesville. And it was named after Seminole Chief King Payne and was a key Seminole territory. The ride through here is really relaxing. It does cost you a couple bucks to get in, but the ride through here is really relaxing. And what's really interesting is that you can see the different ways that they are maintaining the property and maintaining the wildlife and the fauna and the trees. There's certain locations where you'll be able to see that they had some planned burns to get rid of the underbrush to keep things like lightning from starting fires that they couldn't control. And it also helps the other plants around there grow afterwards. In the preserve, there's over 270 species of birds, as well as alligators and even small herds of Florida cracker horses and Florida cracker cattle. If you want to know more about what a Florida cracker is, just watch that section of the Gainesville ride. Those cattle and horses were first herded by the Seminoles way back in the day, and they were reintroduced to the area in 1985. These plains also have bison that were reintroduced into the area in 1975, and they came from the Wichita Mountains Wildlife Refuge. And this is all part of the park's effort to restore Florida's natural resources to pre-European settler conditions. And the original bison roamed this area until late into the 18th century. Also, if you come to the park, they have a welcome center and you can listen to audio-visual programs. They also have a 50-foot high observation tower near the visitor center that provides a panoramic view of the entire preserve. And if you like hiking or horseback riding or biking, they have 8 different trails that you can use. If you love nature, this is a place you're going to want to visit. Micanopy has also had 2 brushes with Hollywood. Yeah, this little town, of all places. In the 1910s, the Kalem Company set up a silent film studio in Micanopy, drawn by its picturesque landscapes. Locals starred as extras in westerns and dramas, briefly turning this sleepy town into a mini Hollywood. The studio's closure left behind tales of farmers moonlighting as cowboys, an unexpected brush with early cinema fame. 80 or so years later, back when Michael J. Fox was a TV and movie star, from Family Ties on NBC to Back to the Future in the theaters, it was a big deal when he showed up in Micanopy to film the 1991 comedy Doc Hollywood. The story takes place in a fictional town called Grady, South Carolina, and Micanopy's main road, Cholokka Boulevard, is showcased in the film over and over again. It's the center of town. It's a really funny movie, so if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. Also, Micanopy gained cultural prominence when through nearby Cross Creek, where Pulitzer Prize-winning author Marjorie Keenan Rawlings lived, and she wrote The Yearling back in 1938. In 1983, a film called Cross Creek was shot in Cross Creek near Micanopy. It's amazing that all that happened in this 1 square mile town, of all the places in Florida. I mean, come on. This is one ride where I really wish you guys weren't virtually with me, but actually with me, because this town is so cute. I went to college in Gainesville, and I always wanted to go to this small little town, and here it is decades and decades later, and I finally made it, and it was worth it. So I certainly hope you've enjoyed this ride. And as you know, time is the most precious treasure we have, and the fact that you have spent any of that with me is really amazing. I sincerely, sincerely appreciate it. Remember, when you're on the road, be kind, be safe, be generous. And you know what? But most of all, have fun, right? I'll see you guys next time.